We're learning tonight that the gunman who murdered two journalists on live TV had serious anger issues in his past. And when Vester Flanagan was fired from the Virginia TV station 2 years ago, he became so agitated that the police had to be called in. Marie Mattox is an attorney who represented Flanagan in a race discrimination case back in 2000, and she joins me now exclusively. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Mattox. My first question is, how do you describe the person you knew, the Vester Flanagan you knew?
Don, he was nice. He was very angry, though, about his circumstances with his employer, the TV station here in Tallahassee, and troubled by a lot of things that had happened to him at work.
Why was he so angry?
There had been racial comments that had been made. What was reported to me is that there had been racial comments that had been made, and then after he had reported those comments, then the station had taken retaliatory action against him after that and had fired him after he had reported, had gone to the EEOC to report these racial insensitive comments to him. And I remember him being angry. I remember him being upset, but he was also a very nice person when I knew him.
I have a copy of the filing here. This is from Tallahassee, and it's not that lengthy, but it does go into some detail about the plaintiff was called a monkey by a producer with defendant, and it goes on in some detail. But what can you tell us about these claims? Were they valid?
I can't tell you that. I can tell you that he reported them to me, and they were serious enough that I undertook representation of him, and the case was ultimately resolved through settlement. It did not go to trial, and he was credible enough when he made these representations to me that I felt that there was enough to go forward and file the lawsuit for him.
So there was a settlement. Was it in his benefit?
I cannot discuss the terms of the settlement, but I can say that the case was resolved.
Okay. Marie, were you surprised to learn today that Vester continued to have problems with other employers after this lawsuit that you represented him in?
I was a little bit, but on the other hand, I knew that he had been severely troubled by what had happened here, and I was concerned about just his mental status and whether he needed counseling. And
why were you concerned about that?
Just because when you're in this situation, because a lot of folks identify themselves with their jobs, and when you lose an important job, then you've lost a big part of yourself. And a lot of people who are the victims of discrimination, or at least believe that they're the victims of discrimination, a lot of them should seek some kind of counseling. And I felt that a little bit about him, that he should have gotten some counseling.
I wonder if you think he was a powder keg, because he said in his own words, he said that in this manifesto that he sent to ABC News, that he was a human powder keg waiting to go boom, and that he was ready basically to respond to Dylan Roof and start a race war after that man shot and killed 9 black people in a church in Charleston back in June. Do you think that he, number one, was a powder keg waiting to go boom, as he said, and do you think that race, number 2, was his trigger point?
I didn't see that when I represented him, but it's been 15 years ago. And when someone has had something like this happen, and something that's this traumatic to him, and I know that this was very traumatic to him back, 15 years ago, then, that's always a possibility. But, I did not see that in him. I thought that he would go on with his life and be able to, make something productive of himself, is what I felt.
Marie Mattox represented the gunman in a lawsuit filed, as she said, 15 years ago. Thank you very much. We appreciate you joining us here on CNN Tonight.